So you said you, no, fuck you said. You went to Spelman, you went to UNC, and you're at Michigan now. I got to stop talking to you as if I don't know you. Like, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So what was the difference in those experiences versus, being at an HBCU for undergrad? And obviously the undergrad is more of a I love my school experience. You're building friends more often because you're at a younger stage of your life, as opposed to where you're in your master's program and now your PhD program where your school workish and yeah, you create a network while you're there, but it is a little bit different. But going from a big HBCU name to two big popular PWI schools, like what was that like?
The transition was difficult. Like, I'll tell you, on the first day, I get there and I'm sitting across from another Black woman, and she's like, well, like an A from a HBCU isn't like the same as an A from a PWI. And I'm looking at her like, what's this? We're in the same program and I got here before you. So I'm not sure if that commentary is like the most astute on HBCUs. So there's always, I feel like that kind of set the tone really for my experience at UNC in particular, not really at Michigan, because Michigan has that big pipeline between Spelman and Morehouse and Michigan, so they're
like with the nerds, the
engineers, the engineers, so they're more familiar with our face. University of North Carolina, it was hard for me. I had gotten other feedback too from one professor in particular, like just even having a teaching assistant, we didn't have those. I don't know how to utilize a teaching assistant. And y'all did not explain this when I got here. You just assumed I would use them. And like, that seems very small now, but like back then I was like, I don't know what sis is here for. Like, she just grades and I don't really know her that well. I would not come to her if I had a problem. And then I also got a biostatistics professor there who's still teaching there, literally said to me, do you read journal articles? Can you comprehend what you're reading? Can you comprehend the method sections? And I'm like, I'm not even here for this. Like, this was the start of a conversation about something completely different. And I went to the dean at the time and I was like, this person said this to me. I felt like it was racially coded. And the person told me, it's interesting because this professor seems to have a lot of problems with students of color. I'm like, oh, wow, crazy. And was anything done? No, she's still sitting up there teaching now. Like, so there was a lot of that. Like, when there were a lot of police brutality instances in North Carolina when I was there. And the dean also was like, they have like a newsletter. And she basically said, if she were to talk about police brutality every single time it happens, like, people would become apathetic and they wouldn't care about it. And I'm looking at her like,
bro, don't nobody care what's in that newsletter anyways.
Right. Like, you could at least make a comment on it. Like, that was the other thing too. It almost felt like your Blackness was in a vacuum. Like, we're just not even going to talk about current events, nothing, as if I can show up here authentically as a student and forget that I'm Black. Because we're sitting up here talking about dogs' birthdays and current events, and you won't even speak on the fact that a man just died, like, a couple miles away. It really was jarring of an experience. I really didn't have a good time at the University of North Carolina. Like, I will say the best part about it is that it got me into my PhD program, and I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that, but it was a really rough experience for me.